Recently, someone working in pandemic prevention in China revealed to overseas media that several provinces have quietly built quarantine zones and makeshift hospitals, almost as if they're preparing for the next wave of infections. This person said they had previously encountered more than 100 cases of people infected with the H5N1 bird flu, which has a fatality rate as high as 68%. In other words, out of 100 infected people, nearly 70 died. That's a much higher death rate than what the Chinese Communist Party had previously reported for COVID-19. Despite this, many parts of China have been building new makeshift hospitals. Right now, we can't confirm the exact locations of these facilities. However, footage from a human plague emergency drill in Yunlin, Shanxi, at the end of last year reminds many of the early pandemic days when similar makeshift hospitals were set up. On October 18, 2024, the drill began with an announcement. The 2024 Northern Shanxi Human Plague Emergency Drill has started. A group of people in protective suits ran forward, carrying spray tanks that appeared to be filled with disinfectant. They then entered small separated rooms, where medical staff began questioning patients about their symptoms. Some people commented online that the authorities might use pandemic fears to control certain areas by claiming there's an outbreak. They said the government could exploit people's fear of death to justify lockdowns. The chaos of the 2022 lockdown in Shanghai's Nanhui district is still vivid in people's memories. Back then, patients in the makeshift hospital had to fight each other for supplies. Everyone is rushing to grab things: water, electric kettles. My mom and I can't do anything at all. I feel like crying, really. I don't have time now. I need to go fight for supplies. If you have time, please help expose this. It's terrifying. You can't even get rice inside. It's all spilled on the floor. What are we supposed to do? My mom and I only managed to grab a box of water. Everyone is scrambling. I can't even squeeze in. I can't get anything. Please expose this. It has to be exposed. This is Nanhui Fangcang. It's terrifying. It's in chaos and no one is managing it. Everyone has to fight for supplies on their own. People are panicking. Please help expose this. Help me spread the word. This is my quarantine site and we have to fight for everything ourselves. The water is too heavy and my mom and I can't even carry it. Several people confirmed that supplies were indeed being taken by force. One person wrote, "This is something my friend experienced firsthand. I hope more people can see this. The government can't ignore public sentiment just to protect their political achievements. Staging things is pointless." Another person commented, "My mother-in-law is there too. She's elderly and recently had surgery. She hasn't been able to get any food or water. She's been struggling since 1 a.m., hasn't eaten or slept, and she couldn't even get a sip of water. We're so worried about her." Someone else wrote, "Shanghai, the so-called Magic City, a global financial hub with all its fancy cafes and lifestyle, is this year's biggest joke. Why force asymptomatic patients into these conditions? People with strong immune systems would recover in a few days at home. It's the 21st century and they're still dragging people to these makeshift hospitals. Where's the humanity?" The pandemic prevention expert we mentioned earlier revealed that China is currently experiencing an outbreak of the H5N1 bird flu. A medical professional in Beijing, known for their integrity, also confirmed to the media that H5N1 has broken out. Li Muyang, the host of the news program News Insight, said the Chinese authorities are likely using the term flu to cover up the highly pathogenic H5N1 bird flu. The Chinese Communist Party is afraid that acknowledging the truth might cause public panic and further damage the economy. On February 4th, Chinese state media reported that the latest data from the CDC indicated COVID-19 might be evolving into a seasonal illness similar to the flu. Out of 1,513 respiratory infection cases tested, people aged 30 to 40 were found to be 2.3 times more likely than other age groups to face the risk of co-infection with both COVID-19 and the flu. Then, on February 11th, an employee from a local CDC office confirmed that human cases of bird flu had indeed appeared in Shanxi province. However, the employee said they couldn't discuss the exact number of infections or deaths. Another staff member revealed that 2,000 people in Shanxi had been infected with H5N1, and 300 had already died from the virus. In fact, reports of a bird flu outbreak had already surfaced in December and January. On January 26th, a TikToker known as Goose Goose, who raises breeding geese, warned fellow farmers about the situation. They said, "The bird flu outbreak in Shandong, Henan, and Hebei will have a negative impact on our breeding geese. Some of our geese have already been infected. Everyone, please stay alert." A farmer from Puyang, Henan, confirmed that their entire flock of geese has been wiped out. In mid-December, a female farmer from Jiangsu posted a similar warning. She said the virus was spreading rapidly in Shandong, Anhui, Hebei, and parts of northeast China. Please be careful, she said. The duck plague is spreading in chicken farms. Make sure you improve ventilation, manage temperature fluctuations, and strengthen immunity. Meanwhile, a research paper on H5N1, written by Chinese bird flu expert Liu Xiufan a decade ago, was suddenly removed from social media. Around the same time, the full text of the paper disappeared from a pharmaceutical information website as well. The H5N1 strain has long been a concern for the World Health Organization, as it can infect humans. If human-to-human transmission is confirmed, the virus could trigger a global crisis. Beyond the bird flu, there's also a growing concern about other respiratory illness spreading across China. Officials call it type A influenza, but many people are suffering from it firsthand.
This virus is really aggressive. It's already my 7th day. I thought I could just take some medicine, get through it, but the first night, I was coughing so badly that I felt like I was dying. The coughing was so intense that I almost suffocated. I couldn't catch my breath.
While he spoke, his voice became thin and weak, and at one point he completely lost the ability to speak. The suffering from this outbreak seems unbearable for many in China. Another woman said she hadn't fully recovered even after taking Tamiflu. She even joked that this strain of the flu deserved to be called Big Brother flu. It's too powerful. It's already my 6th day, and I've been taking Tamiflu since day 1, but my throat still sounds like this. I've had a fever 3 times now, each time reaching 39 or 40 degrees Celsius. The coughing is so bad my lungs hurt. I've even coughed so hard that my abdominal muscles are sore. My mouth is filled with a bitter taste, and I can't eat anything without feeling nauseous. It's miserable, but if I don't eat, I get hungry. No matter what I eat, it feels awful. This flu isn't something you can underestimate. It's terrifying. On February 8th, former Chinese journalist Zhao Lanjian posted on X, saying that a recent Christian gathering in northeastern China had led to a deep discussion about the widespread deaths happening in society. One attendee, who works in the funeral industry in Shenyang, said many people have died from the current outbreak. Funeral homes are overwhelmed, with long lines of families waiting to cremate their loved ones. The source said more people are dying now than during the early days of the COVID-19 pandemic, but the authorities have banned any reporting on it. In some cases, bodies are even being transported to other cities for cremation. You're from Shenyang, right? Yeah? So many people have died. Your family works in the funeral industry, isn't that right? Yes. They can't even handle the number of bodies, right? The lines are so long. Yeah. So many people have died. They're not reporting it anymore. Now they're even sending bodies to other cities for cremation. There are more deaths now than when the pandemic first started. Wow, more people dying now than during the pandemic. Do you know what this is? It's the vaccine. Yes, it's the vaccine side effects. The damage is surfacing now. It's triggering heart attacks, strokes, or heart failure. Once it hits the heart, there's no saving them. Zhao Lanjian posted that a Christian working in the funeral industry revealed the crematoriums are completely overwhelmed. Many families are in shock because their loved ones were perfectly healthy before suddenly collapsing. It's either a heart attack or a stroke, and the hospitals can't save them in time. What's even more alarming is that this vaccine-related health crisis isn't limited to the elderly. Many young people are now developing rare diseases. One person said, "We're seeing more and more cases of leukemia. My own brother has it. We've already spent tens of thousands of yuan, but he's still not getting any better." Zhao believes that the government is intentionally covering up this wave of vaccine-related deaths. He wrote, "In many parts of northeastern China, there are almost no young people left. All that's left are elderly people waiting to die. So many have died, but the government won't release the real numbers. Some smaller cities' funeral homes can't keep up anymore. If the situation is this bad in Shenyang, the provincial capital, it must be even worse elsewhere." He urged people to share the truth about the vaccine's long-term effects. He wrote, "Don't be fooled by the government's lies. Keep your faith, stay hopeful, and support each other through this crisis. We can't stay silent any longer. If we do, the next victim could be you. The government won't tell you the truth, and social media will censor any voices of doubt, but the facts won't disappear. This silent massacre caused by the vaccine is quietly unfolding across China. If we don't wake up and speak out, today it's them, tomorrow it could be you or your family." Amid the ongoing outbreak, even doctors are feeling uneasy.
现在呢是下午19点啊。
It's 7 p.m. and I just finished a surgery. Please, everyone, keep your masks firmly on your face. I've been in the operating room all day, and almost every person in there, whether it's the anesthesiologists, nurses, or doctors, has a cough or a stuffy nose. So many people have the flu. A few of us, who haven't caught it yet, just went to the clinic to get medicine. For the next 2 or 3 months, keep your masks on.
Meanwhile, Chinese doctor Wu Shouquan told overseas media, "Here's another case of type A flu. The patient tried to tough it out for 3 days, but by then their lungs had completely turned white." Another doctor, Dr. Feng, described a recent patient. A man came to the clinic with flu symptoms. Within just a few days, his condition rapidly worsened, and he developed white lung. Some Beijing residents have also reported a growing number of infections in the city and its surrounding areas.
我真的是凭借一己之力把我们一家人全传染了，我应该是我们家最严重的。
I'm the one who infected my whole family. I think I have the worst symptoms. I passed it to my daughter, and now my husband and my mom are both coughing too. I took a home test, and yesterday my daughter and I even went to the hospital for a blood test. It's not type A flu, not type B, and not mycoplasma pneumonia. The doctors don't know what it is, so they just said it's a common viral infection. But based on the symptoms, it doesn't feel like a regular cold. I looked it up online, and it seems like there's talk about a new Beijing virus. From what I'm experiencing, it's definitely not a normal cold. Right now, this kind of illness seems to be spreading across Beijing and the surrounding areas. My daughter is still coughing in the bedroom. Everyone, please wear masks and take precautions. Since the Lunar New Year, the outbreak has become particularly severe in Beijing, Hebei, Henan, and Shenyang. On February 4th, Beijing CDC issued an urgent notice, warning that the city remains in a high-risk period for respiratory illnesses like the flu. Videos from hospitals show massive crowds, with people lining up for IV drips. The situation looks as chaotic as the height of the pandemic. One person claimed on social media that an acquaintance working at a hospital in Zhejiang said leukemia cases have increased by 20 to 30% since the vaccine rollout. Another person said, "A friend of mine collapsed and started convulsing while playing cards. It happened again, and he was fired from his job. He had a pre-existing condition, but it hadn't flared up for years until he got the vaccine. This is just the beginning of the year, but the deaths will multiply at an accelerating rate." Reports suggest that sudden deaths are occurring across all age groups, from children to young adults to the elderly. Ms. Xu, a resident of Yueyang in Hunan province, said, "The hospital is packed. I went to a clinic to get checked for type A flu, but they couldn't figure it out. The main symptoms are coughing, headache, and mild fever. 2 of my close friends have passed away." Mr. Liu from Tianjin said, "People around me kept getting sick, one family after another. I had a low-grade fever for several days myself. I've also heard about quite a few sudden deaths, mostly from cardiovascular issues. It's happening a lot among people aged 40 to 60. I personally know 3 or 4 people in that age group who died suddenly." Ms. Wan, a villager from Jianhe County in Guizhou Province, said, "People are dying suddenly, both adults and children. This isn't a regular cold. It's much more severe. On the 10th day of the new year, I went to the hospital, and it was packed. In rural areas, there are so many cases of strokes. If they don't catch it in time, the person dies." Another person posted online, "I just got back from the funeral home. We set up the memorial hall for my mom and went over the schedule for tomorrow. I found out there are 11 funerals scheduled just for tomorrow, all people who died during the New Year period. The day before and after my mom was admitted, I heard that out of 10 patients, 9 died. It's shocking." Mr. Zhang Wei, a resident of Chaohu in Anhui Province, said, "The news is covering everything up. Our factory has thousands of workers, and people are dying every day. Last month, 2 people in their 40s died. Over the new year, another one passed away, and there have been even more deaths among the elderly, more than a dozen. So many sudden deaths in just these past 2 months." Mr. Zhang Xiong, a resident of Jinzhai County in Liu'an, Anhui, shared a similar account. "Most of the people dying are elderly, but some middle-aged and young people have died as well. The crematorium business here is doing well because so many people are dying. We see 20 to 30 deaths a day. We've even built a new, larger funeral home. There are now more than a dozen furnaces running every day. The mountain villages are empty now. Some houses are completely abandoned." In Xi'an, Mr. Mo said, "You can't get a cremation on the same day anymore. You have to slip the crematorium workers some cash to move up in the queue. That shows you how many people are dying." A Beijing resident added, "So many people have died. Some of them were only in their 30s. Their lungs just turned white and they died. Right now, you have to wait in line to get a cremation." Since the Lunar New Year, several well-known young figures in China have died from sudden illness. On February 11th, actor Gao Liang died of an unexpected health complication at age 50. Actor Liang Youcheng, at just 27, initially thought he had a cold, but his condition worsened rapidly. He died on the second day of the Lunar New Year. On the third day of the New Year, Song Wenwen, a 41-year-old associate professor at Nanjing Normal University School of Fine Arts, also passed away from an illness. Dr. Shan Lin, a virologist based in the United States, said, "This pattern is unusual. In the past, infections were more common among the elderly and young children. Now it looks like the virus has adapted and is spreading more easily across different age groups." He explained that multiple viruses are currently circulating in China. Dr. Lin said, "The greater threat is bacterial co-infections. Many of these bacteria are resistant to common antibiotics, which may be contributing to the rising death rate."